Hello, everyone. Very much welcome to the call today. It's great to have you all on this virtual meeting across the globe. I know it's early, it's late for some of you, but we have some exciting topics to share today. And you will hear from Claudio, our CEO. You will hear from Ismo. You'll also hear from Urs and Wolf, as well as Massimo and Dave Goddard. And as usual, we will have time also for questions and answers. And of course, we'll also look at what have we discussed during this 1 hour. Now, with that, it's my pleasure to give over to Claudio. Claudio, please go ahead.
Thank you, Therese. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, and thanks for joining this all-employee call. Let's start, as always, with our license to operate. And it's about safety, integrity, and quality. And you might recall that we used to have these 5 HSE pillars. From an organization standpoint, we want to learn. From a skill, we want to make sure that we're all competent in safety, integrity, and quality. From a process standpoint, that we continuously improve and that we also adhere with the processes, with the governance, and we do it with transparency and speed. And of course, that we also leverage technology, digital technology, and others to help preventing, detecting, and resolve those issues. And that's so valid from a safety standpoint as much as it is integrity and quality. And I want to make sure that we all, as a team, drive that day by day. We make that part of our DNA. We also lead by example, showing how we work on safety, integrity, and quality within our own teams, but also with our customers and our partners. When you then look at where we are from a pandemic situation, it is unfortunate, and I really hoped that by now, being end of April 2021, we would be able to share more about how we have moved into the new norm, how we have taken all the learnings and started a new phase of our lives, both professionally as well as personally and privately. Unfortunately, you're all seeing reality. The pandemic is not behind us. There are only few countries that they start to move into transitioning into a better overall environment, mainly driven by the vaccination deployment. From that perspective, I really want to make sure that we all understand that testing, as we continue to transition, as we wait for vaccination, but also vaccination, it's not only good for us as individuals, it is also good for everybody around us. It's good for our colleagues, it's good for our families, it's good for our friends, and for the broader society. So I do want to make sure that we all, as a team within Hitachi ABB Power Grids, we really lead by example, encouraging everyone to go for the vaccination whenever that, of course, will be available in the different countries, in the different markets. And also, meanwhile, waiting for that we continue to drive our rigorous preventive and protective measures. Priorities have not changed and will not change until we really come out of this situation. We need to keep protecting people. We need to preserve business continuity. And of course, unfortunately, yes, we're still preparing for the new norm as we transition in hopefully what will be a COVID-free overall environment. Now, let me move to the next exciting news that we have shared with the market, with our customers, with all stakeholders on how we, as technology leaders and also market leaders in our space, we took important steps to support accelerating the journey towards a sustainable energy future. We launched Econic, which is our brand under which we will position every product, solution, service that we can provide to our customers that has an essential, extraordinary, better performance when it comes to environment, meaning lower carbon footprint and better performance to drive that carbon neutral future. It is about us also joining forces. In this case, you've seen High Voltage announcing the joint solution on SF6 free gas for high voltage switchgears and equipment that we will be deploying together with GE, and will allow to scale and accelerate the deployment precisely of that technology. Great steps taken. Feedback from the customers really strong, really good, and look forward to keep our journey up. We will have more to share as we move on with certain key milestones during the year, and look forward to all of you becoming also a promoter, becoming also putting forward those positive message to the overall customer base, to our partners, and to the broader society. Another important message that I wanted to share with you, it's about, if you go to the next slide, where we are in our journey. We are in our journey coming from a big undertaking when it comes to transformation, and you all contributed to that. We have implemented initiatives as part of the Power Up to help us becoming better, to continuously improve, to grow, but to also profitable and sustainable growth. We've been creating the new joint venture, carving out, building up everything that we need in order to sustain our plans. So we come from that transition. Obviously, nobody had planned for the pandemic. We have managed that, and as I mentioned before, unfortunately, we have to continue to manage that until we come out of this. Clearly hoping that this will be 2021 will be the year of the transition. But meanwhile, also building by stabilizing our operations and building foundations that will help us into 22, 23, 24 to accelerate our sustainable, profitable growth, to accelerate also how we create an even better environment as a company, as a team, for employees, a better environment to collaborate with our customers and our partners. You will hear more in the rest next 20 minutes or so about how we drive the digital transformation with Urs, how we also drive digital transformation for our customers, with our customers, from David and Massimo. And you will also hear from Wolf how important is the element of service and the next evolution of services jointly with Hitachi. With that, back to Therese, and look forward, of course, to share more during the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudio. And it's exciting that we have now launched Econic and that we have so many interesting and cool things ahead of us. With that, I'd like to hand over to our next speaker, Ismo. Ismo, please go ahead.
Thank you, Therese, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening from my side too. This section we are looking into the business update in regards to the full year 2020. Let's just remember full year, fiscal year 2020 is 9 months. We started the journey 1st of July, and Q4 is then the calendar Q1 that we just finished. We will also have a peek into the 21 outlook. Let's start with the 2020 and let's go to the next slide. So here you see the key KPIs from our performance, both on the quarter and then also on the fiscal year. Starting with the orders for the quarter, 2.2 billion, 6% up, which is good. If we look a little bit deeper into the order picture and break it out between large orders and base orders, large orders supported well in this quarter. We booked the third one of the HVDC projects, Dogger Bank C in GI, and then that supported the large order picture. If we then go over to the base order, it's a very different picture, because on the base orders we ended up on 1,650,000,000. This is 15%, lower than 1 year ago. This is always a difficult quarter for us in all the KPIs, but we had expected to have a different outcome on the base orders. And if we look at it by BU, all BUs were below expectations, and the same also when we look at it from a regional point of view, except Europe, which shows growth in the quarter on the base orders, but also came higher than the target. So really well done, Team Europe. Then if we move over to the full year, the fiscal year, the 9 months, here we have 7.3 billion -2. And again, if we go a little bit deeper into that one and look at it from a large order and base order point of view, it's a similar picture. We had strong support from the large orders. Mentioned the Dogger Bank we booked in Q4, but we had also Nesek during that period. We had Shetland, etc. The base orders are roughly 4% below last year's level. Again, if we take that big picture, it's not a bad outcome in the current circumstances with all the uncertainties we had throughout the year in regards to the COVID situation. And if you look at it from a BU point of view, transformers and high voltage were holding up quite well on the base orders, and while grid automation and grid integration were below. Then if we move over to the backlog situation, you remember from last time when we were together, the 12 billion backlog, this is a great achievement. It's 7% higher, and very much supported by backlog growth in transformers and grid integration. And if you look at the backlog also from a profile point of view, we have also a much more solid gross margin in that backlog. So this is good for the future, and the revenue we then start to generate during 21 and forward. The revenue picture, 2 billion, it's flat versus last year in the quarter. We had expected more on this one, and we had a few items in transformers for a few test failures during the quarter, and also grid automation, who is very dependent on the book and build. The short cycle also came in a little bit short. So then if you look at it from a full year, you see the 3% growth. Here we had transformers and high voltage showed quite nice growth during that period. And again, GI was roughly flat, while grid automation, again driven by the short cycle business, was down. From a profitability point of view, in the quarter, the 3.9% profitability was clearly lower than what we had expected. We had GA and GI came in roughly on what we had expected, while this time transformers and high voltage had some challenges. Basically, especially on the profitability, this time we failed to deliver on our commitment, and it's a really low 3.9 that we came out with. If you kind of put it into perspective, the previous quarter, Q3, we were at 7.4, so it's a quite big delta. Of course, we had much more revenue in that quarter, and we knew that when we come into this quarter, it's a lower revenue and in all the ways more challenging, but clearly we did not meet what we had expected here. On a full year basis, when we look at it, the 6.1%, here all BUs moved the right direction, improved, and even if the Q4 was slow, and 6.1% on a full year basis, it's kind of a decent outcome, but would we have had a nicer Q4, we could have been even better. The positive item throughout the year, the 9 months of the fiscal year, has been the cash flow. Even if it's negative in the quarter, we have a lot of once a year type of cash flow, cash out payments during this quarter. So we had expected that to be negative, but it was even better than what we had expected, and this gives then also on the full year basis 0.7 billion positive cash flow. Again, what happened here was that the teams came again together and worked on the overdues. Our overdues went down during the quarter and the month, and if you look at it during the 9-month period, we have a 21% reduction in the overdues, which is a great achievement. We still have more than 600 million of overdues to work on, so there is still a lot of potential, and this is something that we continue with then also into the fiscal year 21. If we summarize from 2020, the fiscal year, all BUs improved on the margin. We had a strong cash flow. So even if we had a soft Q4, still with that result, so that's good. Then if you look at the quarter, as I said, the quarter came in lower than expected, except then when we look at the cash flow. So this is in a nutshell how we ended our first fiscal year within the Hitachi ABB Power Grids JV, and the 9-month period out of that one. If we then move into the next slide, which then looks into what was published today from a Hitachi point of view. And you see here you have revenues, adjusted operating income, and EBIT, and you are comparing to 19, 20, but there is also the 21 figure, and that's then basically our budget for 21. So I'm not going into the 2020 because I went through that. If you look at these figures, they are slightly different on the profit because there are certain accounting treatments within the Hitachi adjusted operating income that are different from when we look at our operational EBITA, for example, at the cost for implementing REIVA, the TSA exit costs, etc. But then if we move over to the 21 and look at the 21 revenue and profit, again, from a HAPG point of view, we continue our transformation. And this is based on the 3-pillar strategy that we have set up. If you look at it from a profitable growth point of view, which is then linked into the orders and the revenue, the pipeline on the large orders continues to be strong. If you look at it from a base order outlook point of view, the main thing is still the uncertainty in the market driven by the COVID situation. Otherwise, we have a solid market. There is a solid market outlook from a growth point of view, but the uncertainty continues to be there. So on the order side, we have an assumption that we would have a roughly 4% growth. Then over to the revenue, it's a similar picture, roughly 4% growth on the revenue. And what are the drivers on the revenue? It's the backlog that I mentioned earlier, but also then the short cycle, and especially the short cycle high margin business, being it grid automation, the service business, and also then the synergy revenue that we are driving from the synergies between us and Hitachi, with especially then the high margin profile businesses. If we go to the next pillar then, which drives the profit and the margin, and that would be then the portfolio and the business model. Again, the focus on driving the short cycle business, the high margin business, but also then the de-risk, the order backlog and the margin profile we have in the backlog entering into 21. The third one is then the world-class execution. And this is then where everybody, whether it's a business, a function, a geography, have a lot to do in improving on the execution. This is still one of the biggest opportunities we have when we enter into 21 to drive improvements on the profitability. Last but not least, combined with all this is what we call the enablers. And the enablers are in place to make sure that we have the right cost structure to fit the market and the price pressure we have in the market. These are typically our supply chain cost savings, our OPEX savings, but also the white collar, but also looking into the pricing improvements, especially because the commodities right now are not working in our favor. The profit margin, which you can see here, or it's in yen, but if you calculate the margin on the adjusted operating income, is 7.8%. So we ended around 6.1 in fiscal 2020. Now we have a target for 2021, 7.8, supported by revenue growth and supported by the other initiatives that we are driving in the 3-pillar strategy. With that, I hand over to Therese.
Thank you, Ismail. It's always great to have an overview of the landscape. And now we're going to learn more from Urs. So with that and with pleasure, let me hand over to Urs.
Thanks, Therese, and welcome, very warm welcome also from my side to everybody. Look, it's a great pleasure to give you an insight into our transformation program called REIVA, the Business Transformation Program. However, it's important for me to mention that this is not the only business transformation program we have ongoing. We have several of them, out of which I would like to highlight two. The first one is the HR business transformation process called Sakura, which basically addresses the transformation of our HR-related processes and landscape, and we will leverage there the Hitachi experience, the Workday program they have already deployed. I'm sure in one of the next updates we can also give you an update into that one. The third program I would like to highlight before going into REIVA is the program called STAR, which basically addresses the substantial reduction of our application landscape. Currently, we have roughly 3,500 applications, and in order to become more competitive, more aligned, and also more harmonized and standardized, we need to reduce the number of applications we have currently in PG to run the businesses substantially. And this program, STAR, is as well an important transformation program and will involve all functions, all businesses, and all regions. Now, please, next slide. I still have the, yes, thanks. So, REIVA, you remember well in 2019, we basically looked into the situation how to carve out our legacy ERP system, our 32 plus minus legacy system we had, which was there to run our operation in PG. And at that time, we clearly saw that it's not the most effective and efficient way to just copy paste the existing ERP run under ABB and put it into a standalone organization, but that we basically should take the time and invest into transforming our businesses, transforming the way we operate in the businesses, but also in the functions to really become more agile, more speedy, more competitive through that, and with the objective, obviously, to have more time towards our customer, that we can take the time and work with our customer in a much more speedy manner. We also saw that, all the investment we had done in the Power Up transformation were not yet reflected in most of our business processes. We were still running the system in the old way. So we clearly saw it is critical that we not only drive an IT program, but that we transform the way we operate as a company. And that's why we decided to run that project as a business-led transformation with obviously a very strong digital component in it. And it was clear that we need to standardize and harmonize the way we operate in PG. Not everywhere, we clearly defined, we have our business archetypes, our different business types, engineer to order, software business, service business. So we will look into that one and drive it in a standardized ways per business archetype. But it was clear, in order for us to become more agile, we need to have much more harmonized and simplified processes. And right at the beginning, we clearly saw the advantage of going into a single instant technology, into leveraging basically the SAP HANA S4 technology, and have one single instant, one source of truth where all our information is being stored and can be extracted by push the button. So we are progressing well there. We have basically by end of 2020 defined, with all the great input from all the function and businesses across the globe, with more than 300 SMEs, the global templates per business archetypes. And since the beginning of this year, we have taken this global business templates and now build it in our software factory in India and really start to build the product. In parallel, we have kicked off the localization of the global template into the pilot countries, which is Switzerland, Spain, and Portugal, where we now see whether these global processes we have defined also serves the local needs, and with a specific focus, obviously, into all the regulatory requirements which are in the individual countries. And in the summertime, we will then start also with the wave deployment, that we kick off then the deployment of the pilot, the global template, not only in the pilot countries, but we will engage the first wave 1 countries, where we then also use the piloted global template and then start the deployment there. With that, thanks very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any question in the Q&A section, and I hand over back to Therese.
Thank you very much, Urs. And we have more exciting things on the agenda, and we're going to hear more about service. And Wolf, please go ahead.
Thank you, Therese, and also great welcome from my side. Let's go straight into the next page. Look, I believe really the pandemic is a proof point for our commitment to our customers to be a trusted partner. I believe the role of HAPG for the society, but also for our customers, was substantial for their business resilience. And also, I believe that, and strongly believe that, the margin corridor that typically we are operating within as service is substantial for our own business resilience. So I believe that it makes sense both ways, and the headline makes perfect sense for our customers and our own undertaking. Now, we have done quite a strong and delivered quite a strong 2020, thanks to the commitment of our teams, but not only the commitment to deliver customer success, also the commitment to stick to our core principles around HSE quality and integrity, with HSE being challenged more than ever before. And we are looking back at a very strong 2020 in terms of service performance. So I thank everybody in this field service operations especially, but also for the facilitating HSE capabilities and competence teams to make that happen. So really very strong commitment here, and we got to keep that priority in 2021 going forward. Now, Besides having delivered a strong 2020 in terms of service growth, I think we delivered some 7% orders growth on third-party orders and service despite the pandemic headwind. We do have a very strong plan in line with our strategy to double the service revenues to 2025. And the ambition is to grow 11% in orders for service in the year to come. This is a huge challenge, an exciting target, but I think also in view of the great Hitachi synergies, I'm strongly committed and convinced we can make that plan. I do believe that service with its high calorie business content has the ability to deliver faster synergies than others because the Hitachi installed base is actually longing for our local presence with our diverse teams to be served. So great opportunity here. Now, we talk a lot about digital transformation and new business models and service, which is certainly absolutely exciting, but I'd not like us to forget those things that also Urs has been talking about and Claudio. We got to continue to work on our foundation and to get our operational excellence right, to invest into our field service expertise, to ensure we have an excellent spare part business, and to also continue to upgrade and modernize the installed base through retrofits and upgrades. I think we have a huge role to play with a huge responsibility for the largest installed base in the world that we have to give to the society and how we can help the grid to become more resilient for the future. Now, looking more into the future, getting ready for that will require us to get digitally ready. RAVA is a key portion of that. Other elements like our own software for asset management and field service management will also help us on the service space going forward to be more organized and digital ready. Just let me go on the right side of the page here, which is a first draft of a servitization vision, which is going to take our business forward into a future where the term service will go far beyond just after sales services in the classic sense. Here we're discussing how we can deliver environment, resilience, security, and safety value for customers and society through services and solutions overall. And the term ecosystem or infrastructure as a service is just one of those examples how we are going to make that happen in the future. So I'm really excited to work with the broader Hitachi team to develop that vision, and you will hear more about this in the future. What will not change is our strong commitment to people, in service especially, but also the need for innovation, not only digital, but business models and contract engineering are front and center for accelerating that transformation in service. Thank you for your time, and I'm handing back to Therese.
Thank you very much, Wolf. That's great to hear. And with the speed of light, we're going to move into our next presenter, which is going to be, first of all, Dave, but then followed by Massimo. Dave, please go ahead.
Thanks, Therese. Hello, everyone. Really excited to be here. I have to say, following Wolf is always a challenge, but I'm really excited by what's being shared as the vision there. Massimo and I would like to discuss one of many Hitachi synergy activities that are ongoing, specifically our collaboration with Lumada. And you may have actually seen the word Lumada there on Wolf's most recent slide. As you may know, Lumada is Hitachi's key digital brand. It's operated by Hitachi Vantara, and it's recognized as a leader in IT transformation across industries. It was logical then that as we started looking at Hitachi synergy activities, we'd begin by looking at opportunities in partnership between our grid automation enterprise software business and the Hitachi Vantara and Lumada capabilities. Now, for a number of years, our enterprise software team has been on a journey to re-architect our software into a state-of-the-art, modern, modular architecture. And this will allow us the agility to deploy our software in any environment or indeed on any cloud service provider, which is an advantage to us, but actually has given us even further benefit. Because of this use of best-in-class technology by the enterprise software team, we discovered during our synergy efforts that the architecture that we have developed is very closely aligned to the Hitachi Lumada architecture. Now, as you can imagine, Hitachi tightly control the Lumada brand, but because of this architectural alignment, Hitachi have allowed us to rebrand our software to become the Lumada Asset Management Portfolio, and that was perfect timing. Thank you, as you can see represented on the slide here. Now, I've got to say, this is not just another rebranding exercise. As I've mentioned before, Lumada is a very strong brand. It's got great recognition in IT transformation across the industry. But historically, the analyst community felt it was missing in its end-to-end strategy a full portfolio of outcome-based applications. Now, since we've done the rebranding, Gartner have recognized Lumada now as a leader in the industrial IoT space, which is adding tremendous momentum to our joint efforts. And I'm delighted to share that the team's efforts have also been recognized with the 2020 Lumada Business Award. They were chosen over 37 other applicants from or entries from other Hitachi businesses, and it was recognized for its vision and its value for the future. I want to congratulate the entire enterprise software team, but perhaps even more importantly, I think it speaks volumes about the relevance of what we're doing to the broader Hitachi organization. And Massimo, I think this is leading directly to momentum in the field.
Look, thanks, Dave. So as you say, now coming after Wolf and David, it becomes even more challenging. But I just want to bring this home by saying the following. We started the digital journey, 2-3 years ago. And you all remember the strategy charts of Claudio saying that we want to digitalize our portfolio, we want to become digitally relevant in our business. And it has taken a little bit before we come here, to be honest, probably a bit more than what we thought. However, the good thing is that we start now seeing a lot of momentum created and things coming together. The replatforming of our software, which started under the Digital Enterprise brand and now is being completed under the Lumada brand, coming together with Vantara and their pieces of technology under the Lumada brand, and collaborating with them in the markets, which starts also showing creation of a quite interesting pipeline in North America, in Europe, and now we start also in Middle East and Asia Pacific. So there is a lot of momentum, and on top of this, there is even now a bold move by Hitachi with the acquisition of Global Logic, which is definitely a game changer for the whole group, and will also have repercussions and impacts on the way we run our business, and give us an opportunity to accelerate a number of digital activities that we want to do. So there is a great momentum created. We start seeing also more engagement with the front end, more opportunities which are created working together across also with the sales organization and the account management in the front end. Now it's really time that we start harvesting the fruits of it, and that we start getting, our digital orders flowing. And I'm really hopeful, but also quite sure that 2021 will be a tipping point, and we'll start seeing things moving exactly in the direction where we wanted already a couple of years ago. With that, I would conclude here, and I would hand it over back to you, Therese.
Thank you very much. And as you all have heard, there are a lot of things going on, and boy, is it exciting. I can see there are a lot of questions. So without further ado, we are going to move into the question and answer session. And on the screen, you can see the Slido code. There are already many of you that have found this Slido code and entered questions. But please enter the hashtag employee0428 if you have not yet found your way to slido.com. And we have many questions related to work from home. They are related to the new norm. There are many of you that wonder, probably as all of us, when is this going to end? But specifically, I know, Achim, you are ready to tackle this one. It's more than a year into the pandemic and working remotely. When dates will be the new norm published, and when will it be that the pilot program is ending? And also there are cost questions related to this in terms of cost related to the desk, the chair, the energy, internet. So I think perhaps you can comment and elaborate a little bit further around this.
Yes, certainly, with pleasure, Therese. Thank you. Yes, it is indeed a long time we are fighting the pandemic, and I was just last week talking with Claudio, and we were saying we had the first global crisis meeting in February last year, and basically we were of the opinion that this is something we will have to manage over the summer, and then it's over, and now we know we had to manage it over the summer, over the winter, and potentially over another summer, and potentially over another winter. So the pandemic is not over, and we are currently still in a phase where I would say we do in all our locations, in all our countries, damage control as good as we can to make sure that we protect our people and protect our business. As I have shared previously, we have started in a few countries the first pilots. They are running. We have with Thomas Rubisco, global project responsible, who's coordinating with the pilot countries and the global team. And they are now gathering the first experiences from the countries. And we try to get many more experiences until summer. And the target is that mid of this year, we have our approach formulated, and the project plan is to roll it out in the second half of the year to all countries, who will then have to adopt the global guidance, because we cannot do much more than a global guidance for what they will do in the respective country. So it's a question of a few months to get this rolling and make it visible for you in your country. The only thing I want to remind you how we see this. The new norm is basically the approach how we will work more flexible in our organization after the pandemic. So during the pandemic, we really need to react on developments basically on a daily, weekly basis because things are changing in each country very quickly at the moment. So we are preparing for this, and during the period of the pandemic, we have delegated the management of the specific situation into the countries. Some countries have supported their employees in certain ways, and we would like to request you, if you need support for your working during this pandemic, connect with your local HR team, with your country management to address your issues. And one more thing related to the pandemic and the new norm I would like to mention here. We also have a fund set up to support our employees financially during this pandemic while they are hit from the pandemic, which is funded with donations from our senior management. So that is another way if you have a special need, a very singular pandemic-driven special need, which where you can get financial support from Power Grids. With this, back to Therese.
Thank you,
Therese,
Achim. Claudio, go
Therese,
ahead.
Claudio here. Yeah, if I just to summarize, I think Achim made give us a good overview, and it's clear that there is all of us would have expected to be by now in the new norm. But unfortunately, it's not the case, and not even in the few countries that I mentioned before that are more advanced in terms of vaccinations and so on. There is still a lot of work to do. This is obviously not only about every one of us as individuals. How do we plan to work from home, and what is the best setup? It's also how do we do this in the best way to create an even better environment for all of us within the new norm. So when it comes to the immediate needs of each and every one of you to be able to perform, as Achim was mentioning, If you still need further support, please reach out to the local organization, reach out through, if you are part of a business, through the business, if you're part of a local organization in the countries, or through the function. What we are looking here is really to create a new, and certainly working hard to create a new and better working environment for all of us, so that we can all benefit from it. We benefit from the learnings, but we will also then benefit for better collaboration space, better collaboration environment, better ways of collaborating among employees, but also with our customers and our partners. So once again, do not hesitate to reach out. Make sure that the immediate needs are taken care of you as an individual, but also you for your teams, for your colleagues, for the customers, for the other stakeholders that are helping us in navigating through this unfortunately still difficult situation.
Thank you, Claudio. Now we move into the IT and digital space, and many of us have experienced the different logins that we're facing at times. Michael, what is the outlook? When will we be having one login and not needing to pick and choose between the two?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Very understandable question. I'm also fed up with the double logins here. However, it is not so easy. We need to be a little bit more patient, because that really depends on location, and it also depends when we move application by application over from ABB. The team is working at full blast on it, because we all want to get out of ABB as soon as possible. And the first migrations will begin end of this calendar year, and communications on that one will follow soon. Okay.
Thank you, Michael. Now, there are many other questions on different angles related to the work from home, but also there are questions that relate to more of changes between things that have been heard around the Hay grades and Mercer grades and these type of different compensation topics, Achim. Maybe you would like to clarify a little bit around that in more detail.
Yes, certainly. Yes, we have to move from the Hay grading methodology, which we know from the ABB days, into the new Hitachi grading methodology, which is based on Mercer. Ron, together with Pavel and the Comp and Ben team and the business partners in the functions and the businesses, currently work on regrading the entire organization, translating our structure, our way of how we see function and the value of the certain functions to each other into the new methodology. We have started from the top of the organization, graded the executive team and the management team. This happened in close alignment with the Hitachi colleagues who are responsible there for the grading system. We got the first layer of the organization approved from Hitachi, and we are now working through the next layer of the organization together, as said, with the business units and the functions. We will have a review this week with Claudio on the population, which in the Hay grading system was basically everything between grade 1 and 7 to align and to do the fine tuning there. As soon as this is approved, we will inform all employees about their new grade, and the vast majority of our employees will just notice a change in nomenclature, and the benefits aligned to this grade will remain as they are. And for the few cases where we will face a different situation, we will discuss individually. after that, certainly the work is not over. We will continue to grade the rest of the organization, and in the case of the Hitachi grading system, we will grade the entire organization down to the workers in the factories, because as Urs was mentioning, we are now moving into Workday, which is the standard HR tool from Hitachi, and to run Workday, we need every employee with an assigned grade, and that will be happening over the course of the year and will be finalized in October this year. Back to you, Therese.
Thank you. Anything that you'd like to add on the topic, Claudio?
No, I think Achim covered well, and I will pick on some of those at my closing.
Thank you. Now we have Mauricio here who is asking about the talent exchange program. So once, Achim, you mentioned about this talent exchange program with Hitachi. Is it still existing now? Is there some option to apply for it?
The focus of this program has a little bit changed. We had a rather senior group of people participating in this exchange, but we now would like to also see a focus more on more junior levels of the organization to do the exchange. We are currently in discussions with the colleagues in Hitachi how we organize this going forward, and it's mostly a program where we would look on candidates who we want to offer the exchange, but certainly if somebody is interested to work for Hitachi in a different business for a certain while, certainly you can address this through your manager and HR business partner.
Thank you, Achim, for that. And then we are bouncing back a little bit into the topic which is on everyone's mind in terms of the pandemic. And Mats Burhammer has a question here. Any plans on having COVID vaccination available at the office to get employees vaccinated quickly? I know, Venno, you're best in class on this. Would you like to comment on what is happening in India?
Yeah, thanks, Therese. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I think, as you know, the pandemic wave 2 in India is really going from bad to worst. And true to our strategy, our protecting our people is the paramount importance. We are driving, on 3 things. The first one is the vaccination. Second one is to the mass voluntary testing. And third one is, COVID appropriate behavior, both inside and outside of our offices in that. So the vaccinations right now, the government has allowed for all the employees 45 years and above. Today, I'm very happy to inform that 85% of our eligible employees always came forward and voluntarily got vaccinated in that. Now the government has opened for the other section of the population that is 18 years and above from 1st of May. So we have plans. We want to run these plans in our own campuses, and we are right now discussing with the medical health hospitals as well as the governments. In the next 2 to 3 days, you all hear from us, from our crisis teams, that the camp details in our own offices in that. So here I really need everybody's cooperation. That you please come forward, be the ambassador of this particular thing. Also, ensure that COVID appropriate behavior is the paramount importance to defeat this particular thing. Thank you, Therese.
Thank you, Venno. Claudio, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that the situation it's really dramatic in India. You all have seen that, but the way Venu and his team are dealing with the challenge is exemplary. We have actually, through the learnings that the team has gone through in implementing many of these preventive measures in India, have been then translated into similar initiatives in other countries. And when it comes to vaccination, I can share my own personal experience. Today, it's a good day for me because I was informed by Achim just this morning that the process now has been released so that people like me and Achim, become eligible for vaccination. And the first thing we did is we went into the website and blocked the dates. And I think it's something that, of course, we have to go through the process depending on where you are in the country, where you are in those eligible or eligibility process. But please, as I said, lead by example. Put forward your request. Make sure that you're the first out there to get vaccinated, and motivate everybody else around you to do the same. And meanwhile, as Venu was also highlighting, keep everything else as preventive measures. Continue testing, continue distancing, masks, etc.
Thank you, Claudio. And as usual, we have many questions in the Q&A box here. So there's one question around the legal entity name change, and there will be more coming on that topic, which will be shared with the stakeholders out across countries. But we're getting towards the end, and Claudio, I would like to hand it back to you for the concluding remarks, and we will also be changing to another slide that we share with the team here. Claudio, please go ahead.
Thank you. And I wanted to take the opportunity on closing also to bring up what I think it's a great work done by the team, of course, under the leadership of Stephanie from Talent Management, Achim, but everyone has contributed. You might have heard by now, we have actually kicked off this a couple of weeks ago with the leadership team. This was a bottom-up exercise. We went out and reached out to hundreds of people within the organization, making sure that we would cover every part of the organization, whether it's on the functions, on the countries, on the business, depending on whether you're on the service, on the manufacturing, on the engineering, on the sales side. Really well done. And I really like the way we can position this. And of course, leadership is about the leadership team, but it's about what we can all benefit from. It's not just about our superiors, our bosses, it's about our colleagues, it's about the people that we work with. And I really like the way it has been crafted, starting with, it's about, first of all, it's about people. It's about how do we make sure that we create a culture, and we take the opportunity in this transformation that we create a new culture that starts by putting people first and connecting people to purpose. Making sure that our purpose, making sure that we continue to drive for a sustainable energy future with our technology, with innovation. That is something that we should use as a glue and as a foundation for our leadership. Then connecting people to people, making sure that we create an even stronger collaborative environment. And again, it's certainly starting with our own team, collaborating across the business, across the functions, across the countries, but also collaborating with our customers and our partners. Then is, of course, people to potential. How do we make sure that we develop, that we invest in people and we develop people? And then last but not least, it's people to performance. How do we make sure that we provide the right support so that people can deliver to the commitments and to the plans that we have going forward? When it comes to some of the points that Achim was mentioning about cost, and I've seen some questions around also the IT space, we don't have a budget. How can we digitalize? How can we support improving efficiency if we cannot invest? I want to make sure that everyone understands that we have an opportunity, and we are taking that opportunity with the new owners on the Hitachi side. They have allowed us, despite we were not delivering what we have committed to, they have allowed us to invest in these areas. I've been sharing with you in the past that, for instance, Reiwa was a program that we launched, and we went through the whole process with the two shareholders, ABB and Hitachi, to make sure that everyone, first of all, understands what we need, but also based on that we get also the right investments in order to make this right from the beginning. And this is a great example on, of course, we cannot spend the money that we don't have. So first we need to generate that return. But the starting point was a tremendous sign of trust from Hitachi on approving the large investment and making sure that they would support and help us going through this transition and becoming even better. The last point I want to make, priorities for 2021 are clear. We have shared those. You will see more into the next couple of days, but it's about safety, integrity, quality, our license to operate, and really want to make sure that every one of us take that task as an individual, as a team, and as a player in our organization. And the second one is, you heard from Wolf, you heard from David, service, digital, key parts of our transformation program. You heard from Urs, operational excellence, investing in digitalization to improve our efficiency, to work on our quality improvement programs. Continuous improvement must be a pillar and a center one for us going forward. And yes, let's make sure that also we continue to nurture our purpose, that we nurture our purpose, that we support our people strategy, and we support rolling out, deploying the leadership pillars that we just talked about. And of course, we will have to continue to complete our task in terms of building up, in terms of creating a standalone, solid foundation to take then the next step together with Hitachi and together with our minority shareholder ABB to create an even stronger platform to support the energy transition. With that, I thank you all. Look forward to connect. Look forward to, of course, continue interacting with you. And certainly, as we said, stay close to your people, stay close to the teams, make sure that we continue navigating, and we will take all the necessary actions and efforts to create the new norm, which should be a better place for all of us. Thank you all, and back to Therese, which I believe is gonna, before you leave, launch an interesting iconic video. Thank you all.
Absolutely, Claudio. And we're so excited, all of us, because there's been a lot of publicity, and I'm sure you've seen it across the globe. For those of you who have not seen it, we have this really, really exciting journey, but we have the iconic video. So we wanted to play this video for you. If you haven't had the chance to see it, we want to conclude today's webcast with a great iconic video. Let's roll the video.
It covers you in light when you come home. It prepares your meals and charges your appliances. Electricity, the backbone of our life. Before reaching our homes, electricity sometimes travels thousands of kilometers through the high voltage network. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't. The high voltage network is like the veins supplying us with the electricity that we need, and therefore must be safeguarded. For over 2 centuries, our technologies have been securing safe and reliable electricity for billions of people around the globe. We have the responsibility to fulfill the need for more electricity while preserving the environment for our next generations. Now we're taking an iconic journey towards a carbon-neutral energy future. Econic, our high-voltage, eco-efficient portfolio. With no sulfur hexafluoride, SF6, it reduces carbon footprint by more than 50% throughout the total life cycle. We are lowering our environmental impact every step of the way and accelerating eco-efficient innovation. We are playing our part in the energy transition, and we do it the only way we know. Continuing to push the boundaries of technology to solve environmental challenges, together with our customers and partners. We are in the forefront of innovation, accelerating the transition towards a carbon-neutral energy future.